Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, joining me is my fantasy series co-host, Casey. Today we are diving into Book 2 of the Fallen Angel series, Crave. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Amazon Music. Check it out. It has 70 million songs, thousands of playlists. You can listen without commercials. Sign up today and get your first month for free using the Shelf Addiction link. Go to getamazonmusic.com/shelf addiction and sign up today. Again, the code is Shelf Addiction. The link is also in the show notes. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. I hope to hear your thoughts on today's topic. You can always find me and Casey on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including after shows and more. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to another fantasy series read-along discussion. Today we are talking about the second book in the Fallen Angel series. Yay! Casey is here, my longtime friend, fantasy series read-along co-host from Heart Full of Ink. Welcome back, Casey.
I'm so excited to be here, as always. I love doing the show with you.
Thank you. I love having you here. It's so fun.
Yay.
So as we do, guys, we're going to give you the stats and the synopsis in case you haven't read the book. So you're not like, what are you guys talking about? We're going to give you some info. And of course, if you want to pick up the book, the link is in the show notes. So today, the second book is Covet. No, wait. Second book is Crave. Look,
Covet
my notes aren't even updated.
Oh, no.
Lord, have mercy. Okay, so Crave was first published January 1st, 2010 by Signet. And then later in the same year, the audiobook was published by Brilliance Audio. The audiobook is narrated by Eric G. Dove, and it has an unabridged runtime of 13 hours and 25 minutes. The mass market paperback is 454 pages, another chunker.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a ride. So Casey, would you please read the synopsis?
Yes, I will. From the #1 New York Times best-selling author of the Black Dagger Brotherhood series comes the second novel of the Fallen Angels and a deadly new mission for the reluctant savior enlisted to protect the future of humanity. 7 deadly sins, 7 souls that must be saved. One more no-holds battle between a fallen angel and a hardened heart and a demon with everything to lose. Isaac Roth is a black ops soldier with a dark past and a grim future. The target of an assassin, he finds himself behind bars, his fate in the hands of his gorgeous public defender, Greer Child. His hot attraction to her is totally wrong place, wrong time kind of thing, and that's before Jim Heron tells him that his soul is in danger. Caught up in a wicked game with the demon who shadows Jim, Isaac must decide whether the soldier in him can believe that true love is the ultimate weapon against evil. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Okay, guys, for those of you interested in today's after show, it's available right now on Patreon. If I can speak today, I don't know what is going on. So you can just go on over there, sign up, and you can have access to the after show. So fun stuff. Yes. Now let's jump into this.
Okay.
Book 2, Crave. I liked it. Did you like it? Book 2?
I did like it. I have this weird dichotomy where I liked it more than book 1, but I also have a lot more complaints than I did with book 1. So I'm going to complain. But I actually really liked it. So bear with me, you guys.
Okay, I'm curious to see what your complaints are. Like editorial or like personal as a reader?
mostly personal as a reader. Editorial, like it's just long, but these are like more just personal preferences where, you know, half the time I really liked Greer. The other half the time I just wanted to punch her in the face and be like, you annoying bitch. I know that one was very personal.
Oh goodness. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm down to hear it. I actually thought that this book for me went a lot faster than the first book.
It did. Yes. Mm-hmm. There was a lot less head hopping. We were only in Davina's point of view like twice, maybe 3 times in this whole book, which was really good. Like I didn't need to see that much of her, even though there was a lot of rape and sexual assault going on.
Whoa. Okay,
like,
y'all.
Holy fucking shit.
So trigger warnings ahead. I mean, we don't usually think to do trigger warnings, but there definitely are some when we talk. There's like a torture scene that's pretty gross.
It is bad.
Yeah, and rape, like Casey said, and
it's bad.
Oh man, when I came to that scene, I'm like, oh man. Now, do you remember when we first started this? I said there was something happening in the BDB books to someone on a table, and I'm like, oh, it's Davina because only she tortures people in this way.
Like this, yes.
I'm like, you'll know.
Yep. You know.
Yeah,
guys, you can definitely skip that scene if you want to. Like, it's
if you're sensitive to that kind of thing. But the end of the scene. So in the scene, obviously, she's doing all kind of rude and crude things to him, and while he's tied down and can't really free himself until suddenly he can free himself. So
he's super powerful.
Yeah, which he didn't know. No one knew.
No one knew.
So, but I think the catalyst for that is she wanted to break him, right? Mm-hmm. That was Davina's whole goal. She's like, I'm going to get in that head and I'm going to rule him. Mm-hmm. And he went into his training mode and like locked that shit down. Like no matter what she did to him, he was like almost disassociated from his body.
He was completely disassociated. Like he was in his little mental happy place. He could feel his body. It was, again, trigger warnings, you guys. Like, this is rough. This is a very rough scene. But he didn't feel anything.
Yeah, I think, though, that was genius. Like you can do this stuff to my body, but you're not going to fucking get me. I'm going to win, bitch, basically.
Yep.
And I thought that was awesome. But then she takes it one step further when she realizes that, well, that was no fun. He didn't even scream a lot or anything. He's like, oh, I know what will get him. And, Davina has this wall of souls in hell. Mm-hmm. People that she has murdered for sacrifices and other things, and just bad people that have done bad things. Mm-hmm. And they're all in this wall. And just, to me, I imagine it being really dark and almost black and a little red with people kind of just reaching out of the wall. Mm-hmm. It's horror movie shit, y'all. If they turn this into a show, it would be freaking scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah. So Cece, the girl who is in book 1, who he knows, he sees was the sacrifice to like protect her space, is in the wall. And Davina goes, I know what's gonna really get to him. Cute. And she's gonna bring Cece out of the wall, or Sissy out of the wall. Sissy. And talk to him. Let them talk.
She's a young 19-year-old freshman who was abducted like 2 weeks ago. She was a virgin, so Davina slaughtered her and used her for a spell. And so this poor innocent girl should not be in hell, but she's being tortured because Davina is just evil and torturous. And that's what breaks Jim. Poor Jim. He cannot handle it. He can't handle the fact that Sissy is looking at him broken. Yeah. Which is super traumatizing on so many levels itself. And and he breaks free and tries to kill Davina and fails, unfortunately. But, scared the shit out of her because he's so powerful.
Yes, he's done something that Adrian and Eddie have not been able to do. They have not been able to break themselves off that table, and they sure as hell weren't able to like jump inside of her and explode, basically.
Nope. Because Jim is like super fucking powerful.
Yeah. So that scene, even though it started out grotesque, I feel like that tells us a lot about that character's potential.
Mm-hmm.
And that so not only that, but there was a scene earlier in the book. So he is trying to keep Isaac alive. Is that his name? Mm-hmm. Isaac? Yeah.
Isaac, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a scene where, Eddie or Adrian, I can't remember which one, told him how to put a protection spell on Greer's house. And so when he does it, they say, okay, you need to go to each side. You need to do this. And he does it once and the whole house is protected.
Yeah. He just touches like one spot in the house. And it's just, the whole house is covered. And both of them are like, wait a second, what? That's too powerful. Even we can't do that. What the fuck?
Right. So we got clues right off. Like he's really strong and he's probably going to get stronger. It seems like almost his intuition has taken over, like with a lot of the things happening as far as the angelic side of things.
Well, he's officially dead. He's like officially an angel. Whereas in book 1, he was still human with human limitations and, didn't have wings, couldn't fly around. And he's slowly, feeling out his power.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I'm excited to see where he goes over the arc of the series and just how powerful he gets.
Yeah, me too. Because that alone is also what makes Davina want him. Because he's so powerful. Oh, I like that fight. Come on, baby. She wants him all because he hates her guts. He hates her guts. He's like,
I also thought it was really interesting how she agreed that he would be the, savior guy who fights for the souls. And she was saying that she thought he would like instantly go to her side because she thought he was like her. But now she's regretting it because he's actually like a good guy and trying to save humanity. And she's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, she's like, that's not fair. Like, he's good inside. Like, he looks one way on the outside, but he's something else on the inside. Like, she knows she has no chance of swaying him to her side. And I don't know about you, but after you attack me for hours, why in the fuck would I come to your side ever?
No.
Yeah. And I think she lost whatever leverage she did have the minute he saw Sissy in that bathroom in the last book when he bust in there and saw that.
Oh, absolutely.
Whatever she had was gone. It's like his line is innocence, it seems like. Like he'll do a lot of things. He was that special ops guy, just like Isaac was. He'll do a lot, but he has a hard line.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And that's why he's, trying to save literally everybody. And he even, regrets that the bad guy is trapped down there with Davina at the end of the book. And he's like, oh, man, I wish I could have saved you. But, oh, well, maybe I'll come back later when I rescue Sissy. But I'm really here for her, not you.
Well, according to like Nigel and the other angels, if he wins, he can save them in hell.
Yes.
He can save them, but he has to win the whole end game. He has to win. So it took a lot. I think it was Nigel who came down. Like, he was hot and heavy when like there was this one scene toward the end of the book, like the final showdown, basically, where he knew who he had to say, this whole book, he's trying to keep Isaac alive. And he knows something is wrong in there. He's trying to bust into that house. And Nigel's like, stop right now.
Yep.
And he's like, rage monster. I gotta get in there. And Nigel's like, wait, stop, listen to me. And he even makes it where he can't move. And he's like, if you break the rules, there are consequences. And it took him several minutes to understand what he was saying to him.
Yeah.
But the angels are trying to help them, but they can't just say, hey, here's the war. This is the plan. You need to do this. He has to sort that out on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Which in turn made him lose this round.
Can I just say that I'm actually really happy they lost this round?
Me too.
Like, okay, so for the whole first half of the book, I'm sitting here reading about Isaac. I really like Isaac. I love and hate Greer. But I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. You know, Isaac's basically already redeemed himself. It doesn't feel like he has this big to-do. Like, there's no reason to save his soul or whatever. And Matthias is just always there in the background. And I'm like, he's the one that's really evil. He's the one that should be in the crossroads. And of course, he is. Dun, dun, dun. But, you know.
That was a good plot twist.
It was a good plot twist. I was also thinking, you know, it's going to get really boring if Jim wins every single time. And obviously he's winning with Isaac because Isaac's not going to go kill some innocent person. Like, he's going to go have happy sex with Greer. And, you know, there's nothing to do. And also, I couldn't figure out what deadly sin Isaac fit in. Because, you know, back in book 1 with Vin, it was very obvious his whole role and how he was with Davina, and then he was with the stripper, and, you know, money and greed and all of that stuff. Like, he fit perfectly. Isaac didn't. And that just kept bothering me. But then, you know, she flipped it, and it was Matthias, and Isaac didn't need to be saved at all. And I was like, oh, good.
Yeah, Matthias craved a lot of things. He wanted to die. He wanted to die. He tried to commit suicide. He wanted revenge like no one's business.
Yep.
But little did we know, like, an even further twist to that is that Matthias someone was pulling his chains the whole time. Davina was manipulating him the whole time for years.
Yep.
She had an advantage. She had a huge advantage.
Yep.
Which isn't fair.
Breaking the rules. But
yeah, it's because she wasn't supposed to be able to, I don't know. Well, she kind of influenced the last guy too. She influenced him, but this just seemed not right how she did this. She really did play, what's that game when you hide something under the rock and it's 3 rocks? She's like, oh, here I am over here coming to get your boy or his girl. And, you know, Jim's like, let me save them. And then she's like, don't look over here, sleight of hand, never mind me over here doing this. Look to the left, not to the right. And she played him.
She did.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad she won this round, because that really ups the stakes for the next one and the next soul. And
yeah,
you know,
because he needs to win 4 out of 7. So I don't know. Will he win 4? Will he win 5, 6? You know, he can't win 7 because he lost 1.
Yeah.
But I feel like now he's going to be even more. It's like every time she does something, he's even more determined, because the poor Jim at the end of it, he's like, we won, yay, Isaac's alive, and the angels are looking at him like, not exactly. And he's like,
you missed everything.
Yeah. And then Davina gets to drag him in and just brag in his face, and she's like, you lost. Like, dang. Gloat much?
Yeah. No, and fucking Jem, he's sitting there like, man, I should have saved Matthias, or I should save his soul. I should drag him out of here too. And I'm like, why?
Well, he feels bad for him, I think.
He deserves this, though.
Yeah.
Like,
he wasn't a good person on any level. Even though late in the game, after murdering Greer's brother, he felt bad only because the father was boohooing and crying at the murder of his son. Did he start to say, well, maybe I don't want to do this anymore?
Then he tried to kill himself, and then Jim saved him. with Isaac's help. And then more murder happened, and he tried to kill Isaac again at the end, and that's why he went down to hell.
Yeah, so Jim's task was to prevent Matthias from killing Isaac. But at first he thought it was to save Isaac, and those are two different things.
Yes.
The goal was to get Matthias to back off on his own and not try to kill him. So in the book, which was also very clever, Matthias comes for him as expected, but he shoots Isaac. He shoots him, but Isaac gets up because he was smart enough to put on a damn bulletproof vest.
Yes.
Yes.
Finally.
Yes. So at first, Matthias thinks, hey, I got him, until he sees him standing over him. He's like, oh, and he laughs. He laughs.
It's like, so, I'm good. It's safe.
Yeah. And that is why Jim thought he won initially. And at first, I thought it was going to be a draw because Matthias still did the action, but Isaac lived. But
he shot,
I guess
with intention to kill.
Right. So it was all about the intent, and he tried it. So the evil one. And I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he straight up wanted to murder Isaac. And if Isaac had actually died, he would have been okay with that. The fact that he didn't die and he was okay with that doesn't mean he gets to go to heaven. You
still did the deed. And the scene there, as Matthias is dying, it's like he gets a glimpse of the good place. He gets it, and then all of a sudden creeps in the dark, and he's like, I don't want to go there. Too fucking bad.
Too fucking bad, dude.
Yeah.
You pulled the trigger. You knew you were at a crossroads, and you pulled the trigger.
He said it. He openly admitted, he thought he was at a crossroads. And Jim was talking to him, trying to tell him, dude, this is the time. Think about what you're doing. You don't want to do that. And he said, vengeance is mine.
Vengeance. Always, always vengeance. And Nope.
And it's not even like a good vengeance. The only reason he was coming for him anyway, because he, jumped ship. When you leave that kind of secret society, special ops killers, you can't just walk away from it and live happily ever after.
No.
So when you leave, kind of like a gang, you want to die? You're going to kill you. Yep. So that's what that was. And that's what I like. The bad guy actually goes to the bad place.
Yes. And he was evil, and he wasn't able to redeem himself, even though he tried. It was really interesting. Yeah. But I really, again, that was part of the reason why I couldn't understand why everybody was so focused on Isaac. I was like, he's basically redeemed himself from the start of the book. He left the Black Ops because they were doing shit that he didn't agree with, and he wanted out. And, he's not killing people. Yes, he's cage fighting, but he's not really killing anybody. He's just doing this to get money so he can run away from the government because they're trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like there was some big to-do or any big choice that he had to make. He'd already made his choice. He was gonna go have sex with his lawyer. He
instantly fell in love with oh my God.
Instant love. Yeah. On both sides. That was a little weird.
Yeah.
He's so much younger than her. It was weird.
I know. So
we kept calling her ma'am.
I think now's a good time. We should take a break.
Okay.
There's a couple more things I want to talk about as far as the atmosphere of the book and stuff. And of course, we have to talk about that relationship. And of course, I want to hear what you have to say about Greer. We got to get back to that. But we're going to take a break. You guys check out the commercials, check out, the merch store. And of course, head on over to Amazon and pick up a copy of my reading journal. Yay.
You can write up the Crave in there.
Yes. So yeah, that's it. We'll be right back, guys. Stay with us. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Welcome back, guys. We are going to continue our discussion of Crave. So I think one of the things, before we get to the relationship-y stuff, I think one of the things that I really liked about this book in general, like actually book 1 too, but I feel like this book even more, I feel like as we go, it's getting darker. And I love it. I like that it's not like this surfacey BS, you know. I like that it's actually like, it's really borderline to horror. It's dark. And I love that.
I think that's part of the reason why I like it better. I like it better than book 1, because book 1 was just so much world building almost, you know, like Jim had to be introduced to all the angels. He had to, you know, figure out his way into saving people. And so there was so much there. And it felt extra, even though it was all necessary.
Right.
Like here, it's straight off the bat. Jim knows he's got to go after Isaac. Well, he decides to go after Isaac because he wants to save his friend. And, you know, then he knows immediately, oh man, I got to save some souls, got to do this, got to do that. But we already know Davina's evil. She tortures that. Like it's so much more. And it's darker and it's creepier, and there's just evil oozing off some of the pages.
Yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely agree. It's so much darker. And if it keeps up this trajectory, each book is going to get real fucked.
Yes. Like I'm telling you, the first, I really remember loving Davina as a villain, like loving her because, like, you know, I have said this before. Sometimes I enjoy reading a really bad, horrible villain that is not redeemable. I don't care the fuck happened to them. You're fucking like, this is a demon. Okay. You're bad. End of story. But guess what? She's a demon with a fucking therapist. She has like a problem with OCD and collecting things.
Oh, can I make a really quick joke? When I first read that, I instantly thought about that Tessa Bailey book we read last month and how that heroine had OCD. And I was like, where have I seen this before?
Yeah.
I wonder if she's evil. And then,
she might be, guys. I don't know, collecting all kind of things. But I thought that was hilarious. So I'm like, here is a demon who has an unsuspecting therapist helping her do her job better. The therapist is like, so how's that work situation going? And she's finding creative ways to complain about Jim and the angels. Like, oh, I will win. I will get them. Like, oh my gosh. Lord. No, and I guess she even mentioned a fight they had where she said, I can't remember. It was amazing how she twists the real situation into something that seems mundane.
Yes. I love J.R. Ward for that. Like J.R. Ward can create these incredibly dark people, but also kind of humanize them, or villains, because she's an it. She's a demon. She's not human, but can also humanize them. And like Matthias, evil. He was manipulated. She kind of hinted at the fact that he didn't have a loving father, with the whole "my Danny boy" being his last words, because he was so upset about how Greer's father cried when his son was murdered. But she didn't make that excuse for him. Right. She let those crumbs lay there, but still, he's evil. He did the bad thing. He goes to hell. Dun, dun, dun. Yes. And I really, really appreciate that.
Same.
Davina. super, super evil, but she's got a therapist.
She's got a therapist. That trips me out how she has a therapist. And, she is in the first book. If you guys haven't read it, she does say she's like an it. She could be a man. She could be a woman. She can present however she wants, but she likes the way that Davina herself, the body that she has chosen, it allows her to manipulate in the way she wants. So she prefers that. And she even said something about she prefers sex in this body as well. So, yikes.
They kept saying in book 1 that she can show up as an animal. And so I'm waiting to see her show up as an animal. And I have this irrational fear that she's going to be dog. The cute
not dog
loves. And I'm just like, please, God, don't let her be dog. Like, just let her be any other animal. Let her be a snake, because, that's biblical and whatnot. But I'm just so scared she's going to end up being dog.
Oh, man. Anything can happen. And I would totally expect J.R. Ward to give us her worst, or her best, rather.
Yes.
I expect it. I expect it to be even more grossness and more. It's going to be worse and worse as we continue, which is going to make me like it even more, despite how bad it is. You know what I mean? It's like oxymoron or something. Like, I just, it's so bad, it's so good. Just, yeah.
But this is the good kind of bad, not like the shitty writing bad.
No.
Where you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. How am I reading it bad? But this is like the holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
the story is like horror. Yes.
What am I reading?
Yeah.
But it's so good, I can't stop.
Like, is this actually happening? Oh my God. It's insane. So I do want to also talk a little bit, before we got to the romantic stuff, I want to talk a little bit about Eddie and Adrian, because I feel like they had some time on their own in this book.
And we did. I really enjoyed seeing them.
Yeah. And we got to know them a little bit more. Like, Adrian, he almost reminds me of V a little bit. Like,
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really rough around the edges. He's got a lot of piercings going on. He likes a lot of sex. He is more often than not Davina's boy toy. It seems like he's been down there several times. And for whatever reason, whatever bargain she's whipped up, he's gone for whatever reason. And it has affected him. Like, over time,
it definitely has some PTSD trauma boiling under the surface, and we got to see a little bit of that this time.
Yeah, which is sad. But after what happened to Jim, he was the one to let me go look out for him,
which surprised everybody. Even Jim was like, I did not expect Adrian to be here.
Yeah. And I think he's not, because him and Adrian had a rough start. Adrian was the one that kind of pushed him toward Davina in the beginning. So they had a rough go of it. But I think he just felt so bad, because when they knew he was gone and taken by her, he was enraged. He's like, we need to go get him. This isn't fair. He was very pissed.
Yeah. But another archangel went down there and saved him.
Yes.
Colin.
Yes. Unexpected.
To see who Colin is and what he does and how this comes about, because Nigel was calling him like my number 2, right?
I think Colin was there without anyone knowing he was there.
Absolutely.
Because he went against it. He was like, this just wasn't right. So he helped him out. Yeah. Yeah. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm really interested to see more about these angels up in heaven, which the first time I read, the South Lawn, I thought it said Haven. And I was like, where's Haven? What are we doing? And then I was like, no, I'm just dumb. This is heaven.
Yeah. Same. I feel like the longer we see the angels and the fallen angels, the more we're going to start, I think those are going to be bigger characters than we expect. especially Eddie and Adrian, because they spend a lot of time with Jim. And it kind of surprised me how Adrian likes to blow off steam. Like, I knew he likes sex, but he picks up chicks and he has threesomes with Eddie. I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
Comfort, I guess. More than one person.
Oh, let me get this redhead because Eddie likes redheads. Like, what? Okay.
They've been together forever. They've both been tortured by Davina. You know, this seems really mild in comparison to.
I mean, but honestly, the author made it seem like this chick was winning the lottery with the two of them. I was like, what?
I mean,
it did come off that way.
They've been around for a long time. They know some tricks.
Or like the scene where Jim is trying to get Adrian to talk to him. He's like, we're busy. And in the background, Eddie's over there working the girl over. He's like, oh, what's happening? Like, oh my God. Apparently, the girl left very happy, according to the book. Floating on cloud 9, I guess.
They're angels, fallen angels. They can put her on cloud 9.
Yeah, I'm sure they could. I'm like, well, they roll like that. Okay. Like, well, that was different. I did not expect that.
Honestly, I did, just because I know they've been tortured and I know that they needed something. And I don't know, like, I just don't expect them to, go do drugs because they're angels. And I don't know if that would work on their system.
I just didn't expect them to be together. Like, I knew Adrian. I felt like Adrian was that kind of person because they talked about him having sex in the last book or sleeping with a bunch of people in the last book. So I'm like, oh, he burns off his extra energy or PTSD with some sex. But I was surprised when he was like, oh, meet my friend. I'm like, what? It's like, okay. All right, y'all have a good time. See y'all later. Close the door.
Close the door. Turn up the volume on the TV.
Yeah, that would surprise me. So I wonder how many threesomes are in our future with this series.
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have a foursome with Jim at some point now that he's like in the club. Which sounds really bad because
you know what? Club, okay, to each her own. If she like two guys, 3, that's just like not fair. It's just not fair anymore.
There's just a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and I just don't see it. I just don't. But
I don't think
I guess
Jim
we'll have
to
join,
but maybe.
I think he's too focused right now to worry about that. He's like on another thing right now. Maybe in 100 years he'll be like that, but
yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, he has to save Sissy first. That's like his main goal for himself is to save her, even though, he's got to save the other souls. But yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Good Lord. And and it's funny because there's so much going on in this book, y'all. It's amazing how much is packed into this book. But it all makes sense. It all kind of just gels. I love it.
It flows really fast. Like, you don't feel stuck in any one person's timeline. You don't feel like you're jumping around too much. Like, this book was much better than the first book because there was less head hopping, which was fantastic. Like, yes, give me 500 pages of story with, just this handful of people. Yeah. And again, like, even though we saw Davina, we only saw her like twice or 3 times or something. Like, it was very minimal, but it was good. Like, it was enough. And yeah.
It mostly wasn't from her point of view. If we saw her, sometimes it was from Jim's point of view, talking to her. So just a couple of times with her and her therapist, but other times it was like, that's funny. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about your favorite character, Greer.
Okay, so half the time I really did like her. She was fun. She didn't take any shit. She saw the ghosts of her dead brother and was just like rolling with it and talking to him and just like, yeah, okay, Daniel, you're here. Let's hang out. But then other times I was like, she's just such a annoying person. Like I don't know. Maybe she was too Boston white, classy.
Like, I think the thing that was, I mean, and I guess, she can be blonde hair and blue eyed all day, but the full point that it was like pointed out that she is like the perfect image of like
classy, and he kept calling her classy. Like that, I think that's what was rubbing me the wrong way more than anything. And how she kept talking about how money didn't matter to her. Oh yeah, I just dropped $25,000. And that makes a small dent in my bank account. And I'm like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah. And like even Matthias said something about like her being like her and her sibling having like that perfect Aryan type like bloodline. Like I was like, ugh.
The house she lived in was built in like 1810, and her family was there for the revolution, which, to be fair, on my dad's side of the family, we have ancestors who fought in the revolution. So, but I don't look like it. Yeah. I have immigrants in my family too. Like, yeah. But I'm not blonde hair, blue eyed. I'm so rich. I'm so happy. Everything has to be perfect. Like, there were just times when that shit just rubbed me the wrong way. She comes off as perfect, Miss Perfect. And like, I can see how that's irritating. Even the scene where the guy like comes out of the fight club area and kind of like comes at her car, and her Birkin, her Hermes Birkin gets flown, and the guy takes everything out, and she's like, that was a $25,000 bag or $15,000 bag. Yeah, he would have got more for that bag than he did for the shit inside it, which is true. But like, it made sure we knew she had an Hermes $15,000 bag or whatever the price tag was. Yeah, no, like everything was about the money and the prestige, and I don't know, the fact that she just kept eating omelets for dinner was also really annoying. Like, do it once, not 5 times in a row. Like, girl, can't you afford some steak? Yes, you can. I mean, that makes me feel like you're kind of childish if that's all you eat is omelets for dinner. Like, what is wrong with you? Who does that? Every day? Breakfast for dinner is okay. But again, like every day you're only doing omelets. Why? Is that the only thing you can cook? Did you miss out learning how to cook? Did you have a cook growing up and she didn't teach you anything, and so you just make omelets for dinner? And because it sounds like she only eats at dinner, because they never mention food unless she's making these omelets at dinner. Which was super just annoying. And there were some times when I was like, I really was into her, and I was like, yeah, bitch, go to this fight club and be stupid here, but go to the fight club and go track down your client and go do this. Like, I appreciated her half the time, and the other half the time I was like, I can't stand you. Because I just don't want you to be here anymore. I agree with like the faults that you find with that character. I totally do agree with it, but I also believed Greer and Isaac falling for each other so quickly more than I did the couple in the first book. Really? Because I believe the other couple more than these two. Really? I just think that it was just purely sexual attraction between them from the minute she sat down at the table. Well, no, there was a lot of sexual attraction, and I absolutely understand that. But Vin, he totally imprinted on his girl because he had a picture of her from the time he was a child. And so I'm just like, yeah, sure. That works. But see, I believe this one more because Greer didn't have like any horrible relationship past that she had to get past in a couple of days to fall in love with someone. Like, yeah, that's true. No, she didn't, but she was also so aloof and so just like, perfect. I don't know. Like it just felt weird, and he was so different from her. He kept calling her ma'am, and that just bothers me on so many opposites levels. Attract, I guess.
He was trying to keep it professional and respectful. And he the whole time he was like, oh, I'm getting those draws. In his brain, he was like, I'm getting those draws. But he was trying to keep it clean, I think for a little while before he said, oh, hell with that. But
no, I adore Isaac. I absolutely love him. And the first time they had sex, when he had to leave and go cry in the bathroom, my heart broke for him.
Yeah.
I just wanted to cuddle this giant, abusive, murderous man. Just like, it's okay. It's okay. And she did it, which is fine, which is great. I believe that was super bonding for them. But I don't know. It still felt very rushed. It still felt very kind of like she mentioned herself. She would go into things for the rush of it. She talked about how she and her brother would steal cars, how she was just as crazy as he was, except she didn't get into the drugs, and that kind of felt like what Isaac was to her, was that he was this rush. He was like, I feel like it's going to wear off in a few years, maybe not right away, but maybe 5-10 years down the road, he's not going to be enough of a dangerous boy anymore for her, and it's just not gonna...
You think that'll rub off and she'll be like, nah, I'm over it.
Yeah, she's like, I want to go steal some cars now.
Well, she's also got a bun in the oven because she forgot to take birth control for 3 days.
Why do we have to have pregnancy at the end of every book to like prove the happily ever after?
I know. I don't like it. I'm like, no, but whatever works for y'all, I guess. Now you got a little family, go skip off into the sunset.
And again, they've only known each other for like 3 days, and now they have to learn how to become parents.
Yeah, and then he was gone for a week, and then he came back after a week of being gone. Like, I was cleaning,
calling her or texting her.
No, he was just out and about, cleaning up stuff, tying up loose ends. I'm back, baby, with one rose. And she thought it was so endearing that he took his shoes off before he came into her house with his wet boots. Like, oh, he's so sweet. He took his shoes off. Like, oh my gosh, girl. That's all it takes.
The bar is so low.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
The bar is below the floor.
She don't have a lot of high expectations. And the fact that, honestly, and I guess this is a testament to how wealthy she is, because Isaac went back to fight some more, to earn some more money to pay her back the bail, because he knew he was jumping bail, right? He knew at that time he was not going to be going to court.
Yeah. So
he put the money, left it for her. And this chick takes it to the police station and just tells all the business. I'm like, oh, I guess you don't care about dropping 25 grand down the toilet because.
Right. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Like, I think that was one of the other things that really just annoyed me about her was she was too much of a goody two shoes while also not at all. Like it was so fucking weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I'm like, girl, you dumb. I'll be putting that money in a safe deposit box. I mean, y'all clearly gonna end up lying about everything that happens anyway. So why are you,
why are you trying to tell the truth by also lying at the same time? And like, and the second he left the first time, she called her office to be like, okay, this is everything that happened. He was here at my house. Of course, we didn't have sex, but we actually had sex.
Yeah.
I have to take myself off his case. I'm going to the police. Like, what? Yeah. Why? I
guess because he was committing a crime by doing that cage fighting, and she couldn't take money from an act of crime or something. Some bullshit she said in the book. I don't really remember, but I'm like, okay, girl. Okay.
It's fucking $25,000. You could buy a single purse with this.
Well, I mean, obviously she has to replace her Birkin because the other one had mud on it. He didn't get all the mud off.
No,
what fucking man is going to sit there and try to get mud off of your expensive ass purse? Like, and he didn't even know if that purse was worth $10 or $15,000 yet. You're going to get the mud off. Okay.
Sure, my dear.
I wonder if the author bought a Birkin around this time and she was in love with her purse.
Maybe. I know J.R. Ward does come from a very rich family.
Yeah.
So.
Lord. Maybe one day in my lifetime, I'll be able to buy something like that and not blink of an eye, or, just toss $25,000 out the window and not worry about it. Maybe.
You can do that. Just throw it at me. I will take the money and run.
Just throw it my direction.
Yeah. Just throw your money at me. I'll take it and run. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'd ever have such disrespect for money, even if I had a ton of it. I'm like, dude, you're going to pay me back this money. That's how this works. It's not a giveaway.
Right.
But, she wanted something back for that. And I guess maybe she got enough sex for $25,000. I don't know. Maybe. The sex seemed pretty hot. Those scenes were pretty good, I guess.
They felt, I don't know. Again, I kind of liked Vin better, but my heart broke for poor Isaac when he cried.
I think that the scenes were spicy, but I'm okay with them not necessarily being kinky.
Yeah.
They were just hot. They weren't any kind of kink. Yeah. And I'm okay with that because not every romance situation needs it.
Kinky. Yeah, absolutely.
But I did feel like, oh wow, that's worth something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, one final point that I want to make that I really, really appreciate about J.R. Ward is that she lets her heroes emote and cry. Isaac cried, Jim cried. Mm-hmm. I don't think Adrian cried, but he was like kind of close to it a couple times, especially when he was with Jim in Jim's aftermath of the torture and everything. But like, I know this happened a few times in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series when people would break down or the men. And it's so rare in any romance book to see the hero like actually break down and sob. And yet J.R. Ward does that all the time. And I just really appreciate that. And that makes me love these men even more.
Exactly. And I think these men that she likes to write, they need it. They need it as a part of their humanization, basically.
Yes.
Because she always writes about ultra big guys, really strong guys, really brute guys. She always like all, no one's like a pantsy, quote unquote, or, what would she call it? Him in the one book. I can't remember, but she's always like, they're not soft by any means. They're all hard exteriors with gooey centers.
Yes, they are.
And it's like, for us to believe that these guys are like good people at their core and have feelings and have, I don't know, emotions and they know right from wrong. They have to break down and cry a little bit about certain things. And I think it's good. It helps balance all the brute force on the outside. Because if they didn't have that, they'd be really shallow, I think. So,
yeah, no, and that's something that I come across in so many other books where the men just have to be so big and tough and perfect, and they'll emote by falling in love with their woman, but they never cry. Like that is the one line many authors just will never cross. But J.R. Ward's like, that's the line. Fuck it. I'm throwing everybody across the line.
Shoot. I mean, obviously J.R. Ward is not scared to write about people seeing therapists, all kind of people, even the brothers in the BDB book. Y'all got a resident therapist in this mug. Go see her.
Yep.
Show those feelings. It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. I like it. I have really no complaints about this book. Not really. Just like last time, it wasn't perfect, but I had a great time with it. I got through it really fast, and I did listen to audiobook, and the same thing as last time. I think I am used to Eric G. Dove's voice now. I still listen at 1.5 though. I cannot listen at regular speed, but I'm digging it. I like it. I think I will continue on audiobook just because, I read it the first time around. So I wanted a different experience this time. Yeah, it's good. I recommend the series. What do you think so far?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's fantastic. I like this book a lot more than I like the first book. And I still really like the first book. I do have some complaints. Like, it's not perfect, like you said, but I'm really enjoying it. And I'm really excited to see where it goes next. And I love that Davina won one soul. She got it. It ups the tension. It ups the ante.
Yes. And I also
again next time.
And I also like the fact that the biggest bad of this story presents as a woman.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Because it's like there's not all the bad guys aren't always men. It's an it that decides to show as a woman, and that's what's even more deceptive. Like, look at me, I'm just a cute girl with a stylish outfit. Now come over here and talk to me. I got you.
Exactly.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so let's rate the thing. You ready to rate it?
I'm ready.
Okay. Would you like to go first, or shall I?
I can go first.
Okay.
I'm giving it 4 stars. If I could give it a half star, I'd give it 4.5, but it's a solid 4 stars because, like I just said, it's a fantastic book. I loved it. I was annoyed at parts, but I still really enjoyed all of it. And I'm so excited to see what happens next in the series.
Yay. I also gave it 4. I gave it 4 first time around as well. Like I just said, I'm all in. I'm feeling it. I am loving Jim and Adrian and Eddie, and I'm curious to see what's next. I'm really like, this is the perfect thing to be reading this time of year.
Yes.
It's all the horror vibes. This is the perfect fall into winter type of reading, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yes.
And you get all the things, and yeah, I'm down for it. So next up is book 3, which is Envy.
Ooh.
So that should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to read the synopsis or anything, but I hope you pick up the book and come right back here with us next month and hear us talk about it.
Yes.
Or you can join us in Shelf Addiction Official, either on Facebook or in book clubs with a Z. And that will allow you access to chat with us live about the book. So the conversation in book club is much different than the conversation that me and Casey have here.
Absolutely.
Because we get more points of view, more, just more, So I think, our conversation is great, but if you want like a book club environment, definitely come on over and join us. We'd love to have you.
Yes, we're fun.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Yes. And if you hate book club, no problem. We'll be here on the podcast for you every month.
Yep.
All right. So that is it for today, guys. If you are listening to the sound of my voice right now, I really appreciate you for listening to the entire episode. And as always, we'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.